bienvenidos una vez más a mi canal. Yo soy Mariana Buque y ahorita tengo la grandiosísima oportunidad de poder estar aquí con Naomi Novik, aquí en la Ciudad de México, que viene a presentar su trilogía de la Escolomancia y el dragón de la majestad. Y estoy muy pero muy emocionada de tener esta oportunidad porque, como saben, he estado leyendo últimamente estos libros y estoy súper emocionada de la historia, de los personajes, que en pocas palabras, en una Educación Mortal, tú no quieres vivir en ese libro, no quieres estar ahí, porque nos viene siguiendo la historia de él, que desde que es muy chiquita hay como una profecía alrededor de ella que dice que va a hacer una gran mal a todo el mundo. Entonces por eso su mamá se la lleva y desde ella chiquita quiere pertenecer a un enclave, pero los enclaves son como pequeñas sociedades de hechiceros en los que pues ayudan a sus hijos y pues con eso viven y hacen intercambios constantemente, ¿no? Bueno, existe una escuela que es la que tenemos aquí atrás, que es la Escolomancia, que ahí ingresan todos los estudiantes, los hechiceros, para aprender a utilizar sus poderes. Lo malo es que esta misma escuela te asesina. Entonces empieza a ser bastante complicado poder salir de ahí, te meten en clases de hebreo antiguo, latín, un montón de cosas, y para poder sobrevivir ahí es en la graduación que empiezas a bajar hasta que puedes ser libre de ahí si llegas vivo hasta el final. Entonces es una historia muy interesante, muy entretenida, que a mí me ha gustado muchísimo. Entonces vamos a hacerle unas preguntas a Naomi Novik acerca de pues el mundo que creó. So thank you so much for being here, and I just want to ask you, how are you? How have you been?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. You know, it's been such an amazing experience getting to work with Educación Mortal because they brought me to so many of my Spanish-speaking readers, and they really made me feel closer to my readers all over in Spain, in Latin America, in Mexico, and it's such a thrill.
Yeah, we love Ediciones Urano for bringing you here, and we can ask you things about your book, and I think your mind is amazing for creating such an incredible series. How did you came up with the idea of Una Educación Mortal?
So the Escolomancia comes from three different sort of inspirations. One, which I think most people can see, is Harry Potter and the sort of magic boarding school trope, but I would actually say it's more Harry Potter fandom and the questions that Harry Potter fandom has come up with. You know, how does the economy work in Harry Potter? And then another key piece of the Escolomancia trilogy is the actual legend of the Escolomancia, which is a mythical school that was run by the devil, where 10 students would come and gain dark, arcane, magical knowledge. But the price for this was that when they graduated, the devil would take the last student and use their soul to pay for the education of all the others. And the final piece, which is not at all obvious, is a short story called The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas by Ursula Le Guin. And obviously, so these are all like three little building blocks. Where the actual idea came from, I don't know. You know, it's one of those things where the more you write, the more you make things up, the better you get at it, and the more often your brain just sort of starts generating ideas and giving them to you.
Do you remember where you were at the moment that you were like, I have this idea?
Yes, because I was on the beach on vacation, and I had 3 hours where my child was being taken care of by someone else. And I took my laptop and I went on the beach and I wrote about the first 6,000 words.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was it, you know. So I wrote. I started it with the very first line. The line that is the first line of the book was the first line. That's typical for me with my books. The first line I write tends to stay the first line because it's the line that makes me curious enough to keep writing.
And for me to be reading. Like, I remember reading those first sentences. Actually, I made a TikTok about that, and I was like so shocked, and I was like, okay, this is the kind of book that I might enjoy, and I was right. I was like so good, so thanks. How long did it take you to write the first book?
I'm trying to think. It's hard to say. I think that it took me probably in total a little bit over a year. It's a little hard to say because my intention for writing the Escolomancia trilogy was that it was going to be a duology. It was going to be 2 books. Okay. And I was going to write the whole story from start to finish and then give it to my publisher to be copy edited and turned into 2 separate books. And then what happened was I was about a little more than 3/4 of the way through books, and I woke up one morning with the last scene of the book in my head, and I got up and I wrote it, including the last line, and as soon as I'd written it, I was like, this is the last scene of this book. So it was not the planned ending for this book. It was not what I thought I was writing to. And so that ending actually became the ending of The Last Graduate. So I had to basically push graduation off a year in order to tell the story that I had to tell, because, you know, when you write the final line of a book, at least for me, I know it's the last line. I'm like, I just have to stop there. That's it. That's the place. And so that's really what happened. That's what I had to do.
So when you just start like writing, and you were mentioning this, it was supposed to be 2 books. Did you already know the ending?
No, I did not know the full ending. I feel like I kind of knew. Well, I thought, as I said, I thought I knew the ending of the first book, but it turned out to be the ending of the second book instead. And I knew that in the third book, Elle was going to come out of the school. And that's basically what I knew. But so what happened was, once I had written basically almost all of the first book, and I knew that there was going to have to be 3 books instead of 2, I told my editor, well, I need a third book, and she was very happy, but she said she wasn't going to give me any more time. So I needed to deliver the first book. So what I did, though, was I drafted about half of the second book and wrote a couple of scenes of the third book.
Okay.
So that I had a few pieces, at least in my head. There's still some things, I almost got it. There's like 2 lines in Educación Mortal that I will not tell anyone, which they're wrong. They're now wrong based on the world as a whole, and I would like to change them, but they don't let you do that.
Okay. Actually, well, that was one of my questions. It's like good to know sometimes, because sometimes you get like the idea of the author that they made something that is so perfect for them and they don't want to change anything, but that happens some of the time, and you want to change some things because you grew up in this series and you are like, I want to go back. And sometimes it's like so nice just to write the whole series, and then you just like be switching and coming back and doing all of the stuff.
No, I like to revise. I like to revise the whole way through.
Okay.
I would like to go back and edit like everything.
Okay. We were talking before because we had the opportunity to meet a few hours ago, and I was just asking her something about the mouse, that it's something that happened in these books. There are some beasts and they eat you and they kill you, and I didn't know that mouse was word made up for you. So
yeah, so obviously I made up the word maleficaria to describe the monsters in the world of the Escolomancia, because it has connotations, at least in English, of sort of dark magic, of malice. And my fundamental idea for the maleficaria, and I figured all the kids would immediately shorten that to malice, right? That my idea for the maleficaria was that they were all creatures that needed magic to survive, but unlike people, they couldn't create their own mana. They couldn't create their own magic. So the only way that they could keep on existing was to steal mana from other unwilling people.
okay.
And when a creature that, you know, an alchemist has bred, or a construct that an artificer has built, or even a great spell incantation that an incantor has put out into the world that's supposed to last, whenever one of these sort of run out of their own mana, or run out of the mana that they've been provided, and just wants to keep on existing, they turn into maleficaria. They turn malicious. That's sort of that idea.
And those monsters, they're inspired in some mythology, or they're just like inspired
Some
by
of
you?
them. You know, my feeling was, one of the things, right, that was at the root of the design of the Escolomancia was when you read magic boarding school stories, and obviously Harry Potter is the most common example that we all share. The school that the children are in that you're following is the only real school. Like Beauxbatons and Durmstrang, they're sort of like cardboard cutout schools, right? You can sort of tell they're not really fully fleshed out. You don't get a sense of them as being real. You don't kind of see how the world works. That makes sense for these books. Because that's true for all of us, right? And you think about your school is the school that's real, and like the school that comes to play your team, on the weekends in, you know, like a game of soccer or something is not, that's just it. They're just like the enemy team, right, or whatever. And so what I decided fairly early on was that I didn't want to fight that. So instead of sort of trying to make like an idea that there are schools of magic all over the world, I decided there was just one school of magic. But so if there's only one school of magic and it's got to hold all the wizards, the children of the entire world effectively, then that had huge implications for the number of students. Mm-hmm. And that meant that students come from all over the world. And that in turn means that the Maleficaria also come from all over the world. And I felt that legends of monsters from different cultures would influence many of the Mals. And then there would be other Mals that just don't appear in any legends at all. So it's a mix. Some of them do have clear external influence from mythology or legends, and others are just sort of made up completely.
That's incredible. Like, I'm just like reading some of those monsters, like, wow. I will like freak out, like
yes,
just to think of that. It's like, what? Okay, and now moving on to other topic is one of my favorite characters is Elle. I don't know, it doesn't seem like because I'm dressing in white and all of that and I'm seeing like some angel like that, but no, I'm really, I feel like I'm her in some ways. I'm dead inside as well, you know. I have that kind of personality as well, like very sarcastic, very mean sometimes, and I'm just like, wow. So why did you create Elle with that personality? It's like, it's not common to see people like her, like as protagonist, you know?
Right. You know, so one of the things about it is that Elle's personality actually shaped the world, right? Because, so I started out with that first line. That's the line of an angry person, right? Yes. She wants to kill this guy because he saved her life. And he saved her life twice. So, first of all, she's needed her life saved twice. And in a way, so the question that I was sort of answering was less, is my protagonist going to be angry? The question that I was answering as I kept writing was, why is she so angry? What is she so angry about? It very quickly became clear to me as I went on that she had extremely good cause for anger in her world. And that to me, and that in many ways her anger, her sarcasm, her black humor, her sort of constant planning, this is how she's surviving, right, in this world. And we see this world through her and from behind her defensive, which is what makes it fun to read, right? That you get to be with her. It would not actually be fun to literally experience the Escolomancia. No. Right? But it is fun to experience Elle's courage, right? And her anger is rooted in courage. That she's somebody who is fighting herself, her destiny, everything that everybody else thinks about her. She's fighting isolation. She's fighting all these demons that are real demons that we often have in our own lives. Yeah. You know, she's doing it, but that doesn't mean she's going to be happy about it, right? And I felt like that was very human and very real.
Yeah, something that it's like so funny is like she's trying like to fight of the idea of her mom has of her. Like, my mom will be so happy if she knew that I was doing these things, and I don't like that. Right. So I really like her personality. And I just want to know if you have any favorite character in this world.
Elle is my favorite.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah. And why did you create such a co-protagonist as Orion? Like, how to be the match of Elle?
Right. So obviously, you know, both Orion and Elle are kind of me playing with the trope of the chosen one. Okay. Right. And that's, you know, again, that's in Harry Potter. It's in Star Wars. It's in so much, you know, the sense of somebody who has this destiny. And very often it's like a heroic destiny. But in fact, Elle also has been given this destiny of future greatness. It's just great evil instead of great good. So I thought that it would be quite interesting to play with this idea of these two characters who seem to be, who seem to both have this same kind of destiny, and who are interacting with their destinies, with their fates in really opposite ways. Okay. Where Orion is sort of embracing this idea of being a hero for the world, and in many ways finds that tremendously rewarding and is happy to be that hero. Where Elle is fighting her destiny tooth and nail every last inch. Yeah, and that made them good foils for each other. Okay.
Yeah, and I just have like the one last question that is like in my mind all the time. If that school is like so bad, why will the fathers of like the wizards want their children to go there?
Well, so that's obviously the fundamental question. Why would anybody go to the Escolomancia?
Yeah.
And my answer was that it's so much worse outside, right? that the mals, the Maleficaria, which, you know, as we learn, you know, what sort of causes so many Maleficaria, are hunting wizards on the outside, young wizards, so aggressively that they need to build the school and create this sort of bottleneck, right, to isolate them so that the mals, there's only one point that the mals can sort of wriggle their way in.
It's true.
Yeah.
It was supposed not like the males to be in there, but they are like some way like just coming in. Yeah,
You know,
that
you
makes
can't
sense.
block out.
I didn't think of that, but now it makes sense. So, well, that will be all of the questions. Thank you so much, Naomi. I hope you have enjoyed all your tour in Latam and have a wonderful time. And thank you so much for writing this amazing series.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.